Example 1 said that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. If Campbell ran 18 miles, how many feet did he run? So for this example, we need to use our grid paper, and we need to set up the first factor as 5,280, and the second factor is 18. Taking great care to make sure that you have lined up your 1s with your 1s and your 10s with your 10s. First thing we're going to do is focus on multiplying 5,280 by the 8. It's almost like you could just disregard that 1 in the tens place for now. Following the 0 property of multiplication, 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 8 is 64. Write the 4. Regroup the 6 into the hundreds place. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 2 more is 22. Write the 2, regroup the 2. And 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 2 is 42. Write the 2, regroup the 4 into the 10,000s place, dropping that down. We have 42,240 as our first partial product. Next, you want to make sure that you cross out the regroupings that you've already used. Some people like to get in the habit of crossing out the 8, which you've used already. And don't forget to use that placeholder 0. Okay? In an earlier video, we kind of made that into a smiley face. Okay. And the reason we do that is the next partial product, we're multiplying 5,280 by 110. Remember, all multiples of 10 will have a 0 in the ones place, and that's why we place that placeholder 0. Now this next one is kind of a quick one because I'm multiplying 5,280 by 1. So I know, because of the identity property of multiplication, that my answer is going to be the first 4 digits. So I want to make sure that I have exactly what I have up top. And you could see that this partial product is really just the first factor multiplied by 10. It's the first factor with a 0 after it. Then I'm going to add together my 2 partial products. Taking great care when I'm regrouping. Placing my comma in the correct place. Circling my answer. And of course giving a label. Campbell ran 95,040 feet. My second example says that there are, again, 5,280 feet in 1 mile, true story, and if Amanda ran 22 miles, how many feet did she run? So it's a lot like Campbell's problem in example 1. We're going to start with 5,280 as our first factor. We're going to multiply that by 22. Taking great care to line up your 1s with your 1s and your 10s with your 10s. Okay. Right now, for our first partial product, our focus will be multiplying our first factor by the 2 in the 1s place. 2 times 0, 2 times 8, 2 times 2 plus 1, and 2 times 5. 10, write the 0, regroup the 1. Now, cross out your regroupings. If you'd like, you could cross out that 2, which we are done with, as now we are going to focus on this 2. Now, the nice thing about this problem, once we put that placeholder 0 is, we know what 5,280 times 2 is? It's going to be 10,560. We're going to have those same digits, but this time, because we're multiplying by two tens, we're going to have this 0. So we could kind of use our first partial product to help us along with this, because the multiplication's exactly the same. 2 times 0, 2 times 8, 2 times 2 plus 1, 2 times 5. So you could see 10560, 10560 with another 0. That's our smiley face 0. Okay. Because all multiples of 10 will have a 0 in the ones place. Add together your two partial products. This is a big answer. Amanda ran 116,160. Circle your answer. Don't forget your label. Feet. Our next example, again, using great care when we're using our grid paper, and that really helps us line up your ones, your tens, your hundreds, your thousands, and so on. Example number 3, an average customer consumed or took in 2,850 calories each day. How many calories would that customer consume in 3 weeks? So we know our first factor is going to be 2,850. I'm going to give myself some space between some of our earlier problems. Now the second part of the problem says 3 weeks. Okay, so of course we have to turn that into days, because this is the number of calories each day. We need days and days. So of course 3 weeks, 7 days per week, 3 times 7 is 21. We're going to be multiplying that first factor by 21. Now when we find our first partial product, in my opinion, this is going to be almost mindless. Due to the identity property of multiplication, we're going to be multiplying 2,850, our first factor, by 1. Okay? So, naturally, one group of 2,850 must equal 2,850. Now, moving on to our second one, we have no regroupings to cross out. So when we're moving into our second partial product, we're going to put that 0 placeholder down, make it a smiley face if you'd like. Okay. And then it's just a matter of going through the multiplication. But this time, now that we're done with that guy, our focus is multiplying the entire first factor by the 2. And remember, it's 2 tens. All multiples of 10 will have a 0 in the ones place. 2 times 0, 0 property of multiplication. 2 times 5, 10. Write the 0, regroup the 1. And remember, you could regroup the 1 here or here. Do what's most comfortable for you. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1, 17. Write the 7, regroup the 1. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Write the 5. Put your second horizontal line, your addition sign, and then you're ready to go. 0 plus 0, 5 plus 0, 8 plus 0, 2 plus 7, and 5. Don't forget the comma. Circle your final answer. If you're ever unsure of your label, go back and reread the question. How many calories would a customer consume in 3 weeks? So right there, just taking the time to reread that question told me what my label is. So my answer is 59,850 calories in the 3 weeks. Example number 4 reads, a pump in a decorative pond can pump 1,285 gallons of water each day. How many gallons of water will be pumped in 4 weeks? This reminds me a lot about example 3, when we had to kind of figure out how many days there are in a certain number of weeks. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's move on. 1,285. It's our first factor. 4 weeks. Well, we knew that there were 21 days in 3 weeks. So clearly we're looking at the multiples of 7. This time it's 7 times 4, 28. We're getting into some larger numbers, and this typically is where people start to make some mistakes. So let's go through it slowly and, of course, check our work carefully. First partial product. Be multiplying everything by the 8. 8 times 5 is 40. Write the 0, regroup the 4. 8 times 8 is 64. Of course, we've all heard I ate and I ate till I was sick on the floor. 8 times 8 equals 64. Plus 4, 68. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 6, 22. Write the 2, regroup the 2. And 8 times 1, identity property, of course, equals 8, plus 2, 10. Write the 0, regroup the 1, drop it down. First partial product is 10,280. Don't forget, cross out your regroupings so you don't accidentally use them a second time. You can cross out the 8 as we are done with it. Now we are going to focus on multiplying the first factor by the 2. We're going to put that smiley face 0 to start things off for our second partial product, because all multiples of 10, because we are multiplying by 2 tens, all multiples of 10 have a 0 in the ones place. Okay, now we're ready. 2 times 5, 10. Write the 0, regroup the 1. 2 times 8, 16, plus 1, 17. Write the 7, regroup the 1. Remember, regroupings are kind of a personalized thing. You put them where they work best for you. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And 2 times 1 naturally is 2. Our second partial product is 25,700. Time to add. 0 plus 0, 8 plus 0, 2 plus 7, 0 plus 5, no regroupings down here, 1 plus 2. Make sure you put your comma, circle your answer, very important when you hand in your homework assignment. And then if you don't remember the label, always reread the question. How many gallons of water will be pumped in 4 weeks? 35,980 gallons. Example 5, I will help you get it set up. Then you'll have a chance to do the work on your own while the video is paused, and then you could unpause it to see the big reveal. Our class frog consumes 1,689 crickets per year. How many crickets will he consume in 1.5 decades? I think it's safe to say that we're all comfortable with putting our first factor of 1,689, the number of crickets that the frog consumes in 1 year. Okay, now we're going to be multiplying that by a number of years. Okay, but in the question, we have decades. Now, a decade is, of course, 10 years. So 1 decade is 10 years. A half a decade would be 5. So the mixed number 1.5 would be 10 plus 5, 15. At this time, I would like you to pause the video when you're ready. Find the answer of 1,689 multiplied by 15. And when you're ready, unpause, and I will show you how I would solve it. Okay. You should have first multiplied your first factor by the 5 in the ones place. 9 times 5, 45. 5 times 8, 40 plus 4, write the 4, regroup the 4 into the hundreds place. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 4, 34. Write the 4, regroup the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. Cross out your regroupings. Cross out the 5 if you desire. Put your placeholder 0 to start off your second partial product. Use your head on this one. We have 1,689 being multiplied by 110 actually. But in the actual computation, we're just using the identity property. So 1 times 9, 1 times 8, 1 times 6, 1 times 1, and you could see it almost mirrored, 1689, 1689 with a 0. Because remember, we multiplied it by 110, and that's the trick for multiplying anything by 10. And then add up your two partial products. Make sure you have your label. Our class frog consumes 1,689 crickets per year. How many crickets will he consume in 1.5 decades? He would consume 25,335 crickets.